to the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook. I'm your host, and we have got a full house because Adam Carroll, you're here. You're here most weeks. Hello, mate. How are you?
Good.
You sure?
Well, good means I'm very sure. So
okay, your words say one thing.
Do you want me to add another good?
Let's try that again. Adam, how you feeling?
Superb, man. Superb.
Back this week. Gary Bailey is back this week. Gaz, are you alright?
Yeah, alright.
Is really? I mean, not to bring people... I'm not trying to bring people down, but I heard you were a bit poorly, mate.
Yeah,
poorly
just
sick.
been a bit... Had a virus. But like
a virus?
And yeah, my voice probably sounds a bit dodgy. I don't know if that picks up.
You sound a bit like... Well, let's ask Nicola Ardrin, who's been allowed back on the podcast this week. How do you think Gary sounds? How do you think he sounds?
Sounds a bit gravelly.
Yeah, he sounds like he wants some sympathy.
Yeah, he's not getting any.
He's not getting
I
any.
never get sympathy.
Listen,
I don't expect
actually, do you know what?
Anymore. No point.
Oh, bloody hell, Gaz. Gee, well, you're always ill, mate. You're worse than me, and I'm ill a lot. I want to get a little bit of housekeeping. That was housekeeping and house cleaning out of the way there together. We can't talk about it this week. This week, I have lost the ability to talk. That's how it's going to be tonight. We can't talk about it this week, but I do want to say, do come back next week, because myself and Chris White, who I'm saying will be here, haven't actually talked to him about that yet, but we both have completed God of War for PlayStation 4. The embargo is up on the April the 12th, which means by then, it's next week's podcast, you can come back and listen to what we thought of it. However, that does not mean that we don't have games to talk about this week. Now, again, Chris and I both finished Far Cry 5, but Gary, you have sort of not finished... Well, I'm guessing you haven't finished Far Cry 5, and Adam, no. I'm guessing, hasn't either, but Gary, how far in are you?
I'm not that far. Right. I've not even done the first,
region.
Seed family member. Right. I was going to is it bottom left? I don't even remember who's who, to be honest.
That is John.
Yeah, I've just been dicking around, killing things. You get sidetracked a lot in that game.
Killing things, you say? I mean, I'm hoping just people. Well, you're not just slaughtering.
There was a bear that I used a Molotov on because he was in my way. It was between.
You used a Molotov on a bear.
Well, I wasn't taking any chances.
Don't overkill that, Gary. Just saying.
He still came at me on fire.
Well, you set him on fire. I'd come at you if you set me on fire. I'd worry about putting myself out first.
I had to rescue some hostages, and he was literally on the path between me and the destination I was taking these hostages. So I wasn't taking any chances, so I just, overkill, maybe,
okay.
But he was a bear. He was going to murder me anyway.
I think
that's an assumption to make.
I genuinely think those bears are the scariest thing this year. The bears in Far Cry 5 have absolutely destroyed me. Going into caves, they just appear out of nowhere, and it's the most aggressive. I wouldn't say it's not a cutscene, but just the motion. It's like right up in your face. This really aggressive bear, and I don't know what to do, and I panic, and I die a shit ton after a fight with them. They are wicked.
I mean, I have to bring Nicola in here, but Nicola, I'm sure you and I are older than these two, not by a lot, but I knew bears were dangerous. Well, and I said not by a lot, but I knew bears were dangerous. Did you not know that?
It's like when Adam said he went into a cave. You're like, you're walking into the bear's manor there. That's his manor.
Yeah.
He's going to attack you, isn't he? He's a bear.
And Gary's setting them on fire.
Exactly. You've only got yourselves to blame, lads.
I mean, Gentle Ben would attack you if you set him on fire. It's funny you mention. Probably no one knows who Gentle Ben is. That's a dated reference. But there's not too spoilery, because I think you actually can tell if you look in the perks. You can not the perks, the buddies menu. You can see there's Cheeseburger the bear, right?
Yeah.
I think I said last week, because I spent so long doing the other areas and he's in the north. I didn't unlock him until really late on. And there's the mission, because all the buddies are kind of like side quest missions, but they're significant missions. I can't actually remember Boomers, the dog's one. I can't actually remember what you do.
Hang on a minute. I haven't played Far Cry 5, but are you telling me that you can have animal companions, a bit like you could have Primal?
Yeah.
Yep, there is a Cheeseburger the bear. Peach is I think she's a tiger. Cougar. Yeah, Peach is the cougar, who I actually really enjoyed. And so you can have two eventually if you unlock enough perks.
Context.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but you can have two. Once you've unlocked the perk to have two buddies, you can actually run around with Peach is the cougar and Boomer the dog together. Like, that is one of my favourite things to do in that game. But what I was going to say is I regretted, because when you do the mission for Cheeseburger, essentially you have to catch a fish and feed him a fish, and then the cultists come and take him because he's quite like a local celebrity, this bear.
Right.
And the mission is protect Cheeseburger from the cultists, and I barely shot anyone. He just fucking ruined everyone, and to the point where it's like, I wish I'd done this earlier, because this thing seems like it would break the game. It's so strong.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that. It was like you could have Peaches and Cheeseburger and just let them go. You know, you don't even need to actually do anything. They'll just do all the killing for you.
Mm-hmm. But what are you enjoying it?
I am, but I don't know. I'm struggling with the aiming. I don't know if it's me or whether I need to mess with settings or something. Because I do find as well, a lot of the time, I can't even see the enemies. They kind of blend into the background a little, and I'm struggling a little. But I'm enjoying it. Just, I need to get used to it a bit more.
You know, it's got auto aim, right? Like, it's got the Call of Duty style.
Oh, yeah, it's got that in, but sometimes it doesn't work. I think you have to be within a certain range of them.
But again, it's like Call of Duty. Like, if you hit LT or L2, it'd be on your PS4, aren't you? If you hit L2 and it doesn't kind of
snap
lock on,
lock
on. Yes, snap on is the word. Yeah, then usually you just let go and then hit it again. You know what I mean? Like, it's very Call of Duty. I don't remember when that came to Far Cry, actually, but I totally appreciate it in this one.
Yeah.
You've just got to get good, Gary.
Adam, have you played any more?
Yeah, I'm going into the second region only now.
Which one is your second region? Because it is,
the woman who...
Oh, Faith.
Yeah.
No, see, that's what I did.
Why is that a mistake?
I think you should go up north and come back. Actually, I was listening to a podcast. I'm not going to not credit them. I just can't remember where it was, but I heard a suggestion, and it never occurred to me to do this, that you could actually do a bit in each region as you go. Like, you don't have to go and do, right, I'm doing this region. You could just kind of do a bit in each of them as you go, whenever you... And I never even thought of it that way, because that's not a very video gamey thing to do, is it?
No. I mean, I kind of stick to, like, the Dragon Age method. You know, like in Dragon Age Inquisition, you were in the hinterlands for ages when you could have just gone somewhere else.
Well, that was the great thing about Inquisition, wasn't it? That everyone who played a lot of it, like, just get out of the hinterlands. Yeah. Just get out of there as quick as you can, you know. But everyone, well... But, sorry, Ad, so you're going towards Faith's region.
Yeah,
so you've played a good, 6-7 hours, must be then?
Yeah, around that. See, it could probably go up to 10 because, as Gary said, there's a lot of dicking around. I'm loving it. I think it is the best Far Cry. I think 3 was my one. I was like, this nothing is beating 3, but now 5 is just, it's hitting all the sweet spots. Unfortunately, story wise, it's just gone out the window. It's just, I've lost all interest in the story. I don't know if it's because it's just doing that. It does that thing where it's so big, it's such a big game. There's so much fun to be had and so many things to just interact with, that even the side quests just kind of take you away from the main story. So I know that's the purpose of it, but like I could sit down for a play session and not do anything main story related. Like I'll just play for like an hour or two, and it's just side quests, or like I started doing those, like, I think it's like these challenges, these, like, I don't know, you get into like a kind of a derby thing, and you're just tearing around.
Oh, oh man, what's it called? The stuntman stuff.
Yeah, like coming across those kind of things. I just think the world is really fun. I think it's really good. I think it has. I said it last week, but I do think it's like a first person Just Cause. I really think, like.
So are you saying you're getting that thing where there's like a game with a story that's like the world's going to end in 24 hours, but I'm just going to do these 100 side quests that are escort missions to get Mrs. Miggins a loaf of bread from the corner shop, and that's breaking the fact the story's more pressing?
Pretty much. But like, see, the game is so much fun that like I'm fine with it. I'm okay. Like, it starts off so strong, as we said last week. The opening sequence is brilliant. I wish it kept. No, as I said, I don't know, but like, you were saying something about how it kind of wraps up, Adam, and you weren't too gone on it. Like,
I think the phrase I said, and I will stand by this, is that I think the ending absolutely shits the bed. I actually read an interesting article about it. I want to say it was on Paste Games. God damn it, I can't remember, but it was a really good. That's not helpful to anyone, is it? Never mind. Forget I said anything. Adam, carry on.
I think the gameplay is the hero here, though. Like, I think the weapons we'll talk about them later on, but the weapons are incredible. The sound design is incredible. I think the music is still perfect. I've literally not come across a single piece of music that comes into place and I've been like, that doesn't suit it. There's even a mission called Air Raid, if you remember.
I don't. Oh,
and it does
in the plane.
Yeah, and it does this kind of Top Gun kind of moment.
Yeah,
and
so I actually played that one in co-op. So I played it in co-op both times in Chris's world, and he played it co-op with me in my world. So we were chatting, so I didn't actually hear the soundtrack for that one.
Yeah, I think if there is another Far Cry, I think what it needs to do is just not take itself seriously in any shape or form, because they're going that direction, but they kind of keep little serious tones, serious beats here and there. Mm-hmm. It's still more silly, but they just need to go full out. They just need to go insane with like everything. Like,
I wonder what happened. I mean, I suppose we'll never know, but the initial reveal, I think it was Ryan King went to the initial reveal for us freelance, and there was, and I've heard this from the same on the US media as well, that like there was this real serious, like they were real hushed tones, like we're really serious about this. And then obviously you got that first trailer and it was just balls to the wall explosions. You're like, it's a Far Cry game, okay. I wonder what happened. I don't think we'll ever know, but I wonder if they not chickened out, but got cold feet a bit and went, well, actually, maybe we won't, or maybe they did genuinely decide, actually, let's just make. I don't know. It's such a strange thing, this game.
Yeah,
I still really loved it, but yeah.
There's, I gotta say, the moments of when a plane is after you and you're just like running for cover, and you turn around with a sniper rifle and it's coming at you like full on, shooting bullets at the ground, and you just hit that guy. You hit the pilot, and then you just see the plane just diving down. It's so satisfying. Like, it makes you feel like a complete action hero at times. However, like, is it just me? But it's quite hard. Like, I'm dying a lot. Like, it gets very heated. Like, there's enemies coming from everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you let it get out of hand, you'll die a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think, like, I have yet to do co-op, but I think co-op really helps, like, in that situation. And I don't know
it does.
if they kind of solely designed the co-op to be that way. Is this game mainly designed for co-op? It doesn't seem that way, but in terms of difficulty, I think it is. I think that it's ramped up a lot more than your previous Far Cry games, because I remember going through like 1, 2, and 3. I never played 4, but 1, 2, and 3, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's not too difficult. It's not too easy. This is just like, if reinforcements are called, you're better off just running or like just throwing bombs everywhere, because it gets kind of messy and there's just explosions and you're hiding in bushes and you're just trying to run away as quick as you can. So I would like to try the co-op, because I think that would be amazing fun. But yeah, really loving it so far, and like it's kind of one of my most entertaining games I've played this year, so as well. So I hope like the ending isn't as poor as I think it's going to be, but so far it's like they have such a good villain once again, and I just want to see him all the time. I just want to deal with him all the time. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, you mentioned how it's the most fun you've had with the game. You know, a universally mostly praised game, Far Cry 5, bar a few people. Another one of those is Bloodborne, which Gary has been streaming recently, and a little birdie, and by that I mean him, just before we started recording this podcast, says he may have changed his bad opinion on this.
Yeah. It was...
It's not convinced.
I must admit, it's like streaming
Speaking of cold feet,
streaming it has helped, I think, because I don't know. There's something about I suppose playing for an audience kind of thing. You can't kind of help me get into it more. I also
need to be
think
reminded, before you go on, Gary, what was the reason that you didn't get on with it? Like, what was the situation?
he was bad at it. He was bad at it, I think, Nicola, wasn't he? He was just bad at it.
It was generally it's the gameplay I couldn't get on with the faster
Because you're bad
pace.
at it, that's right.
I was alright. I got up to ROM before I quit originally.
He hasn't got 4 wheels and a steering wheel. He doesn't like it. That's right, isn't it, Gary?
Taken leave of his senses. That's why I didn't like it.
I couldn't get on with it, and I mean I was always
cough medicine he drinks.
I was always the Dark Souls player with the shield, so it took me a while to get to grips with the dodging.
So was I though.
The regain I'm still not a massive fan of.
What?
There are times when it's like you're meant to use it, but you can't, because by the time you've got back in there after they've finished flailing wildly, as many of the enemies do in this game, it's already reset, so you can't get in and get your health back. But like I say, I have been enjoying it a lot more now. I've beat Rom now, so I'm beyond.
I mean, you're over the hurdle. That Rom was the one. I must admit, I remember first time Rom was the bad one like that, and it was never a particularly difficult boss fight. It was just it
was frustrating.
I said her.
It's the crowd control.
It was her ability to take you from a position where you are pretty much on top of it, looking like you're going to defeat her, and then just fucking wipe you like that. That boss probably has, apart from the one that Nicola recently defeated, that has the most possibility of doing. And I think first time round, Rom must have taken me double figures.
What's the boss I've recently done? I've forgotten.
I'm trying to think of the one in the Chalice dungeons.
Oh God,
the one,
that bitch! Don't talk to me about
oh God, what was it? The
Amygdala
defiled one.
Defiled Chalice.
Yeah, oh, man, yeah. That is rough. I mean, I genuinely chickened out of helping Nicola get the platinum because that boss nearly ruined the game for me. I mean, I wanted that platinum, and I ended up, and I think most people have a Souls moment like this. I ended up with that basically so done. Like I was so done that I ended up summoning 2 people and kind of hiding in the corner, and just going, "Please, just kill this fucker." Yeah. And because I had to. It had to be gone from my life, and like the idea of, and I don't really know why that fight's so hard. I mean, defiled part, the fact you got half health doesn't help, does it?
I do.
Go on.
I don't think the boss itself is that difficult. It's the fact that because you're at half health, she can one-shot you.
Yeah, very easily.
And I spent 30 insight trying to do her in defiled, and I just absolutely despised her. I got so bad that it was taking me so long, and I kept failing over and over and over, that I got to a point like you, Adam, where I was afraid of her, and I basically just kept out of the way while my 2 summons did the work.
Yep.
Because I was so afraid of her.
Yep. I mean, even when it's like, 3 hits and I could finish her, it's like, I'm not even going to do it, because if I go near her, I could die, and this looks like the run, and I couldn't do it.
There's also that also that situation where you don't know whether you should kill the small little spidery things first.
With Rom,
and then go for it, you know. But it's, I don't know, that boss destroyed me for ages.
From what I remember with Rom, and again, this might be bad memory, but I remember basically electric up your weapons, and just go in swinging like crazy. And if you've got strong enough stats with it is electric, and I'm sure it's electric.
Yes, she's kin, so
that whole
it was
lightning.
That entire area as well, leading up to Ram, is it's brutal. It is really hard.
It is rough, yeah. Well, because you got that the fight against the hunter before you even get to Rom as well. Actually, that was a tough one as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it took me a couple of attempts.
But Gary, has it clicked with you in the way that the Souls games might have?
No, I mean it's still bottom of the Souls pile for me.
Ugh.
Well, no, it's above Demon's Souls, but the Dark Souls, I think. I mean, a lot of it I think is down to the setting. I much prefer like the fantasy setting of the Dark Souls games.
Really?
To the like more kind
Yeah,
of gothic
wow.
style of Bloodborne.
See, the setting of Bloodborne is what makes me desperate for another one, even though I don't even sort of have any comprehension of how it could even work. But like that, there's not enough games with that kind of...
No, the gothic thing is amazing.
You know.
It's just, it's amazing. But like,
I mean, the architecture of that
Soul
world...
Reaver back, or Legacy of
Well,
Kain
I'm
back.
not saying you can't. I mean, I'm saying let's have both.
Oh yeah,
You know?
that's perfectly fine.
because I think when I first played Bloodborne, I was like, after playing, I haven't played the first Dark Souls, but I played 2 and 3, so I was in on the Souls thing. So going into Bloodborne, I was like, all right, cool. I was completely shit, thrown off completely at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. I was dying. But then I felt, when I figured out that you just have to be super aggressive, when I got that into my brain, I was like, oh my god, this is it, because it makes you feel so amazing. I just think like you just want to just go in and just go insane, and that for me just outdid the Souls thing, because I've played so many, like, I love Souls, but I've played so many games of like shield and sword and just kind of standing and blocking and stuff, you know. For Bloodborne to just have to go in and really attack, I thought that was such an adrenaline rush.
I'll be honest, I think playing Dark Souls 3, because originally Bloodborne came first, didn't it?
Yes.
I think going back, like playing Dark Souls 3 and finishing that, including beating like the Nameless King, which I think is a real, like, it's a real kind of test of your dodging and stuff like that. I think that helped me go back to Bloodborne and like playing it the way.
Is the Nameless King the optional one
Yes.
in the clouds?
Yeah.
See, I read all about that and how hard it was, and I thought that was one of the easiest
I didn't
battles
have
in the
much
game.
trouble with him either, Adam.
No. And I'm genuinely not like, well, I'm so good at
No.
these games. I'm not just genuinely. And then I went and, because you know how obviously it ramps the difficulty up if you do it co-op,
Yeah.
I went in to help someone else. And again, it was, I don't know if I would just, by that point, I found it harder getting to him, some of the enemies, than him. I don't know, maybe I didn't do him early enough, if you know what I mean. Maybe
I think I did him over leveled, because
I think I
everybody
must
said
have
he was
been.
really difficult. But he's the guy on the dragon. He's on a
That's him,
dragon or
yeah.
something initially, isn't
It's
he?
like 2 phases he
Yeah.
comes off, doesn't he? Yeah.
I think I did him
kinda
on my
wiped him
second
on-
or third go.
I'm the same, yeah.
Did it either
Well,
of you?
fuck you both, because it took me about 12 attempts or something daft like that.
Well, while we're talking about Dark Souls and Souls games, right? We know I've got some news I want to sprinkle in as we talk about games. We may as well do this now. So we were invited to this, but we couldn't make it. There was a Dark Souls remastered preview event. I think it might have been a couple of days. I can't remember. We couldn't make it either way. And they obviously let media play the new version. I think it was PS4 on Pros, I think. So they had the 4K and what people are saying is around 60 frames at the moment. Like, people aren't saying it seems locked. I will say the footage I've seen, it looks pretty smooth. But the thing that's come out is that a couple of, I think it might be IGN's Prepare to Try. Yeah, that is IGN, isn't it? Prepare
Yeah.
to Try.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
Murphy and that. I think because they obviously play a lot of the Souls games because of the Prepare to Try thing, they tried to sort of just jump in and go and do Blighttown, which is the question hanging over that game's head, and they weren't allowed. Now, it's not uncommon for, in fact, Adam, you had this with Ni no Kuni 2, didn't you, where you got further than you were supposed to, and they were like, you shouldn't. I think it was you that did that, didn't you?
Yeah, but they just forgot to call me. That was all. I was doing a reason why.
Yeah, that's right. But it does happen. Like, I did it many years ago at a Red Faction event. I just kept playing, and then someone said you should have stopped. And I was like, oh well, sorry. So it isn't uncommon for publishers or developers to say, like, listen, this is where you stop. But
It's worrying.
see, the thing, it's weird to me because, for a start, it's a really strange thing that there are preview events for remasters of games, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, an inherently strange thing. Second of all, this is 10 years old now, Dark Souls? Not
Something
quite
like
10
that.
years, maybe.
It's getting there.
It's upwards of 7, I would say. And it's not like you're going to be spoiling this for many people. And when one of the biggest questions is, how does Blighttown run? And you're not prepared to say, here's the question for you. Am I doing 2 and 2 making 5 here? I know we can't know, but what do you think?
I mean, I suspect they have fixed it, but it's just, I don't know, it just puts that doubt in your mind that they're specifically stopping people from going there.
But that's what I'm saying. To play devil's advocate, Nicola, spring you in it. If you're in a situation where you're doing the PR for this game, right? Mm-hmm. And the big question is, how's Blighttown run? Because my God, it was shit, and we all know it was.
Yeah.
Would you almost not lead with it?
I don't know, because everybody
Like,
wants to know
hiding?
that, but that's also
That's
the
what I
first
mean.
question. So I don't know whether you would necessarily answer the first question.
Unless they have actually added a bit of new stuff to it. It's unlikely, but...
I think from all reports, I've read a few previews, the situation seems to be that most people are saying, it's still a great game, but it is kind of that great game, just running better and in a high resolution. It doesn't seem...
I don't know what...
Oh, no, they changed the multiplayer, I think, but...
Yeah, they've added, extra players in.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are expecting from this. As it's going on, it seems that people just want a whole new Dark Souls version. It's really I for one, when it got announced, I was like, okay, cool. It's Dark Souls on the Switch. Brilliant. That's the sign of good things to come.
You didn't even notice the PS4 Xbox part. It was just
True. But I think having these things on Switch, for me, it's great. Am I going to get
They're perfect.
They're perfect for Switch. Am I getting Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Do you know, it's... I don't know, but I wouldn't really... who... Are you all going to play this on PS4 or what console are you going to choose? Do you know?
I don't think I'm going to play it at all. I don't know. I don't know. Nicola, you're a fellow Souls fan. Are you going to get it?
I don't know. See, I've always said that if they were going to do it properly, build it from the ground up, do a proper remaster on it, with the connectivity stuff that they had in Dark Souls 3, with how easy it was to connect and play with people, then I'd be really interested. If it's just an upgrade, then I can play Dark Souls on my Xbox One via backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm kind of the same boat, because I've got it on Xbox One. I've got the PC version as well, so I could just download the SFix and basically play that same version.
I'm in the same boat. I don't really play unless I am literally in the position where I have to review a remaster. It would have to probably be one of my favourite games ever, and I'm not gonna. Oh, I don't want to know if I want to finish this sentence. I don't know that Dark Souls is one of my favourite games ever. And the reason I say that is because and I think I've said this on about 2,000 podcasts at this point, but the amount of video games that are released nowadays, I reckon 4 I want to play that I have installed across Xbox One, PS4 and PC and Switch actually, and I have not started any of them. And that to me is, in my own weird fucked up logic of a mind state, I feel disrespectful to those games if I then start playing Dark Souls, which is a game I have played, and that's stupid, because if you love it then you should play it, but there's a reason when Bloodborne, when everyone was talking about it again for PS Plus, I sort of went to go, no, I won't, you know what I mean, that because there's other stuff.
Yeah.
And there's some of it I really like. Ni no Kuni 2 I haven't started. I really want to start it, and I know there's a lot of going around of some love it, some hate it, Adam. But I really, really want to just sit down and have a couple of hours with it, and then maybe another evening have a couple more. And I feel like Dark Souls, as amazing as it is, was, forever will be. I'm not someone who's excited about the Switch version, because I don't play a lot of games on the go. I play them at this. I don't want to sound a wanker, but I like to sit and play games on my sofa on the big screen, if at all possible. I totally get why people love the fact that games. We joke about it a lot on this podcast, me being about the perfect stuff for Switch. I actually completely get it. Someone like Nick Gillum on the site who commutes into work every day, and that's great for him. It means he can play the Switch, and it's TV quality games on the go. But for me, it's quite. I think once upon a time, the Switch would have been perfect for me because, you know, when you get sick and you don't want to leave bed, but you could sit and play the Switch. But nowadays, I think I've got to the point where I'm old enough. I don't want to play games when I'm sick, to be honest with you. I don't want to do anything but get over being sick. So even that's out. I still love the Switch, and I still love, you know, I mean, everyone remembers my speech about Mario Odyssey. Like, you know, these games are fantastic, but Darks, yeah, I mean, are you going to play it, Adam? Are you, you love your Switch fan. Are you going to get it?
I'm definitely getting it. Like, I haven't played the first Dark Souls. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
that's different.
That's
yeah.
my reasoning behind it. But, like, I don't know. Like, I just think it's interesting to hear people who have played this game, and if you own a Switch, that you wouldn't think, I wonder what it's like to play some game like this on the go. Like, I know, Adam, you just said...
Would you not also consider the fact you know damn well, even if they won't admit it up front, you know it will be the most inferior version of the game, of the remaster.
Yeah.
You have a PS4. Would you genuinely will still get it on Switch?
Oh, now you're fucking with my mind. I don't know. Like, see,
It's like the Doom thing. It's like the Doom thing. People going, "Oh, it's amazing! It's on Switch," and it's like, you know what? I will say, it's certainly a technical achievement that and Wolfenstein are coming to Switch, but I want to play that Xbox One version I played. In fact, I want to wipe my memory of that game and play that Xbox One version again. Now they've updated it in 4K on the Xbox One X. I would love to. Doom is one of those games where I feel so jealous of someone getting to play that for the first time.
Yeah,
and
I know.
But the idea that their first time might be playing it, the inferior version.
See,
that's kind of where I am with Dark Souls.
I think that I said this.
Because who owns just a Switch is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I said this before, that, like, I think the formula of these games, for me, I want to see how it is in the Switch, because if you're like, I don't know, if you're in work, you have your Switch with you, and you go on your half an hour lunch break or something, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I have that boss, I'm going to attempt it." You can get an attempt in. That's the way I'm thinking of this, you know, because I know the way that these games work. So I feel if I sit down with a new Souls game or something and I have it on the PlayStation, I'll be just, I don't know, having to get home and sit down and play it, whereas that I can just get through it on the Switch.
Do you not remember? I suppose you wouldn't remember because you didn't play it, but like Nicola, like Dark Souls is not as friendly as the more recent Souls games.
No.
Like,
but I do remember 3 being the easiest. 3 for me was like...
Well, I don't know if it's difficult because that's one of the few Dark Souls games I've played before it was out. Like, I was playing that on a debug, and like even the online was not online, and I do remember the last 2 bosses of that pushing me to absolute breaking point because I wanted to finish it for the review, obviously, and I remember genuinely. I think I've told this on the podcast before, but just in case, my kids were in the room. I don't remember what they were doing, actually. They might have been playing on a different telly because I was playing at my office desk. And I finished the last boss and I just jumped up and shouted, "Fuck you!" at the screen. And I'm sorry. I just it was like it got me in that state where it's like didn't matter. There were children. It could have been anyone's children in the room. But I don't know. I just don't think Dark Souls is as friendly as people maybe think. No. You know, there's been a lot of Souls games since.
I mean, there was the path to Seath. If you're not online, you'd have no idea.
Fucking hell, that's crazy to think. Well, look, Dark Souls, we'll find out, we'll cover it, we'll review it, we'll put video up. The usual. Nicola, I want to ask you a question, okay? I want to ask you if this sounds familiar to you, okay?
Okay.
So my son, who is 11...
Yep.
was playing Rainbow Six Siege.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he shouldn't be, but I'm usually in the room with him, so I'm making sure that he's safe. And kids are, like, let's be honest, kids are more advanced. And hey, I might edit the bit out where I said he was 11, and that bit just then, that I said it again just there. So, in fact, I'm just gonna do that so the audio peaks. So I'll leave it in. Anyway, the story goes: he's playing, having a good time. He turns round and he says to me, Nicola, "I don't understand it. I've just joined the lobby and been instantly kicked."
Yep.
That sound familiar at all?
Yep. Was the game already in
Yes.
progress?
I didn't actually ask that bit because I looked round and I saw it, and that's not the only time he said that.
Yeah.
It seems to be a regular thing. And let me know. Hang on, here's another one for you. Okay, so a match is going on. They're going quite well, and all of a sudden he's dead. Well, I don't understand it. Why am I dead?
Yep.
Oh, one of my teammates has killed me.
Yep.
Oh, hang on. One of my teammates has killed my other friend.
Yep.
Oh. Familiar?
Yep. Now that teammate's been kicked for team killing. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the match is pretty much not going to go anyway but downhill. Ubisoft has announced plans, Nicola, to address toxicity in the Siege community. Now,
Yes.
we, or you, were on top of this quite some time ago. I want to say, I don't want to, you don't have to say I told you so. I'm going to say Nicola told everyone so. So,
I think,
have you read their plans?
I think, though, that they're only specifically referring to PC community.
Do you?
Yeah,
Why do you say that?
Because a lot of the stuff that they've put into it, like you can report a player for toxic behaviour, and you do that via the in-game menu. You have to click on the player and you can mute them and you can report them for toxic behaviour, and it reports it to this thing called Fair Fight. But if you do that on console, it does absolutely nothing, apparently.
Oh, okay.
It's specifically for the PC community. And my feeling is with Ubisoft announcing that they're going to do something, or they're working on solutions for the toxic in-game community and like in-game chat and stuff like that, I think that they're specifically talking about PC.
I think you're probably right, because one of the things, and this comes from a story on GameSpot.com, is, for starters, Ubisoft says it's already tracking its chat for racial and homophobic slurs, with different tiers of bans based on severity, 2, 7, 15 days, or permanent. These aren't necessarily a progressive system, though. A particularly egregious player could go straight into the perma ban without having earned the others. Now, what you've just said there, interesting, because I don't think Ubisoft would have access to Xbox game chat, whereas if you're on Uplay, oh right, never thought of that. Never actually thought of that. I'm assuming you meant verbal.
No, I think that'll be the type chat in the PC version, not console. I think that the toxicity within the console community won't be addressed. I think there'll be some token thing again, like the report player for toxic behaviour, but nothing happens to them.
So have you read about the team killing stuff as well? They're not exactly saying much, and this story says the details are scant since the company doesn't want to reveal too much about the current shortcomings of the current kill detection system. Now, I don't want to. I haven't played Siege properly since it came out, and it's we're into year 3. But it seems to me most online multiplayer games have a thing, like in Far Cry, right? In Far Cry 5, if you shoot a civilian, it comes up with a message saying "Do not shoot civilians." It knows that you shouldn't be shooting those people. Now, am I being daft, or is that not a similar situation where it's like you just killed your own teammate? Or is it a case of, hey, look, you maybe could have... Because I've seen George accidentally kill a teammate.
Yeah, it's pretty...
He didn't realise.
It is pretty easy to kill a teammate. If you're holding an angle or something like that... and
that's what he was doing.
And a teammate runs in front of you...
and
you automatically react because you've been holding that angle. You can accidentally kill a teammate. But it's the deliberate team killing that I think they need to do something about, even if they put like ricochet in or something like that, because the problem is if you are team kill, you only get 1 life per round. You can't respawn and still contribute. They've killed you and that's it. They've deliberately put the team 1 player down, and a lot of players do it. They'll team kill you if you join into a match halfway through. A member of the team has left and you're backfilling the match, they'll vote to kick you. If that vote isn't successful, you'll be team killed, because they don't want you to share in the victory, for example. In casual, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. If you play in a squad, you're protected against it a little bit, because if there's a vote to kick, it needs 4 out of the 5 to kick you. So if you're in a team of even if it's just 2, they're only going to get 3 votes. So it's not going to be enough to kick you. But it's just, you cannot play that game solo. It's a nightmare. It is absolute nightmare.
I mean, not to linger, I suppose, too long, but because we have talked about it a lot, but you're still playing, clearly.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed.
I mean, I think I may have asked you this before, so apologies to listeners and you if I've asked this, but like, that must be the frustrating thing then, that you clearly love this game. That must be the most frustrating thing ever.
It's a brilliant game, ruined by the dicks who play it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I have recently moved into the ranked playlist, and ranked is significantly better.
Right.
Because
people there actually want to do well, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, because if you kick a player, you're not going to get backfilled. So if you kick a player, you've deliberately voted to put yourself down to fall.
Handicapping yourself, yeah.
Rounds are short. There's a minute less per round, which puts the pressure on. And I just... It kind of gets the adrenaline pumping a little more playing ranked. It really makes me anxious, to be quite honest.
Oh, wow.
And I've just done ranked. I've just qualified for ranked. Got my starting rank after my placement matches this season. So, I do like it a lot more.
So has this game overall replaced Overwatch for you in a way?
Yes, I haven't played Overwatch in months.
Wow.
I mean, I watch a lot of Overwatch. Like my kids, both of them. Like I tell you what, that game it's not quite Fortnite levels of child obsession, but Overwatch is. And listen, there's worse games to play. You know what I mean?
Like I say, I haven't played Overwatch in months. Siege just can absolutely consume me since I've found a crew to kind of play it with.
Right.
It's the learning curve. I think it's the fact that to properly master it. I mean, I'm level 96, clearance level 96 now. God knows how many hours that is. It must be over 100. And I'm still learning.
Wow.
Angles to hold, best approaches, where defenders are likely to be roaming, all sorts of things. Are just absolutely, each match is a real test of patience and map knowledge and communication and all sorts of stuff. It's a brilliant game.
Fair enough. I mean, that's pretty much a ringing endorsement. Just I
love it.
I want to quickly mention a game. Actually, there's no link into this. I've been thinking. Will Nicola say something that lets me link these? There's no way. No, I mean you couldn't have. I literally can't think of a way. I mean, that would... Yeah, I guess. So there's a game called The Adventure Pals, which I feel like no one's talking about, and I think it's a bit of a shame, because this is a game that riffs heavily on Adventure Time, the TV show. But it's a platform game, and I feel like at the beginning of the year with Celeste, I thought, a platform game's coming back again, and they kind of didn't, really, did they? So The Adventure Pals is... How do you describe it? It is not like Celeste. It is not that kind of platform game. It's a more friendly, but it's also got combat, so you've got a sword you can hit people with, and essentially your mum and dad get kidnapped and you have to go and rescue them. It's on your birthday, and your birthday present is a giraffe, and the giraffe's called Giraffe, and he becomes your backpack. And you know how in platform games you can double jump and then hold the jump button to like hover? In this, the hover is the giraffe sticking his tongue out and spinning it round. It's that kind of game, and I think Nick gave it 7 on the site, Nick Gillam that is, and yeah, I think it's a game worth having a look at because it's funny, it's fun, it's colourful and pretty. It's interestingly had a bug on the Xbox One when I was playing it because it was pre-released that if you died, the game would hang. So it was like, is this the Dark Souls of platforming? That was what I was. They patched it out, so I don't know. I wanted to mention that. Do you know what? I can't remember offhand. It's not a big studio at all.
Okay.
It was a Kickstarter, wasn't it?
I think it might have been. It certainly might have been, yeah. But I wanted to mention it because I wanted to mention it last week, and I think the embargo wasn't up. And I just want to mention it because it's a nice game, and it's got co-op, which I have actually yet to try, but I'm always up for that kind of thing. It's a little bit floaty, like the platforming could have been tightened up. And games where you've got context sensitive stuff like press B to open chests. Like, so I feel like the window could be a bit wider on those, and that would elevate this game. That's pretty much all it's got problem-wise. Speaking of elevating games, Gary, someone unplugged Gary's mic while Nicola tells us about how she's been getting on with Nier Automata.
Finished my first playthrough.
Okay.
Finished that, and I've started playthrough 2. I had a huge gap because if you remember when I first spoke about it, I was quite taken with it.
This is ages ago.
I was quite taken with it. I'd got to 2 bosses where you fight 2 of them together.
Oh yeah, Adam and
Eve.
Well, are we at the point where we can talk slightly more openly about this game now or not?
It's a year ago, isn't it? I'm not going to spoil anything other than sort of maybe boss names, but that's where I'd got with it, and I was kind of pottering about. A couple of the sort of story beats kind of really kind of punched me in the gut a couple of times. You know, how this relationship between the androids and the machines was kind of developing. And then I got distracted with other things, probably Monster Hunter World, thinking about it. And I forgot all about it. And then I was sort of sat the other day thinking, should really tidy up on a few of the games that I've started and not finished. So I stuck it in and I finished it the other day. I have to say that I wasn't quite as taken with it towards the latter end of the first playthrough, particularly in that because I'd got this big gap, I kind of forgotten about where I was going and how to read that map, because the map is really awkward. And I ended up getting into endgame without realising I was in endgame, and I didn't have any restorative items at all. And it was a bit of a slog until I messed about with my chipset and sorted that out. But yeah, I just felt like it kind of went very quickly towards the end. You were kind of just in boss fight after boss fight, and then it's like, oh, okay, I finished. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's start the second playthrough now. And it's kind of cool because the second playthrough, obviously, you play as 9S now. And it is kind of cool seeing what was happening with him while you were off being 2B.
Did I don't want to spoil this bit, so I'm going to talk around it. The opening of playthrough 2 blow your mind? I'll just say the menus.
Oh?
No? I'm guessing you didn't notice it. Options menus.
Yes.
Reboot.
That did actually. I thought that was really neat. But if I remember rightly, cool. when that bit happens when you're 2B, I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. How they're kind of breaking down that, well, what would be fourth wall in theatre. I think that's really cool how they've integrated that into this idea that you are an android. And then when 9S is doing that, and I'm watching the cutscene and it says you can skip it, and I thought, no, I don't. I want to watch this because I'm just wondering if this is what I think it is. Yeah. And I was sat there watching it and I was going, yeah, this is exactly what I think this is. That was cool.
Yeah. It's just a moment.
Do you think you're going to go for a third playthrough, or is that?
I'm definitely going to do that, because I've heard that the third playthrough is the best story wise.
It's much different as well.
Yeah, so
you're not just repeating content, is what I'm trying to allude to. I think.
Yeah, I like when you were saying there, like at the end of the playthrough, and it just kind of starts throwing everything at you. I think the more times you get through the game, those kind of issues become irrelevant. I feel like then you kind of start to understand the kind of meaning of the game. Like, not to say nobody would the first time round, but like, I think it does always warrant 3, probably 4 if you're loving the game, just keep playing it, playthroughs. But like, the third playthrough again will just be, you won't know what's happening. You'll just be blown away by the situation. I'd love if like both you are like, Gary, are you still going to play it?
I'm not going near that game again.
Oh.
I don't want to die inside again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Don't rise to it. Don't rise to it.
Well, you should.
I do kind of get, going back to it, I kind of get the criticisms of the combat. It is a bit bland, to be honest. It's a bit bland.
DMC.
Given who developed it, I will agree. Like with Platinum, you expect more.
Yeah, I think I do.
But
I mean, to be fair, the last kind of boss, or sort of the mid-boss before you do the very last boss, I just used my pod, with the ranged attack, because I had no restorative items, so I couldn't really afford to get in close. And it just took ages, and I was just so like, oh, this is just doing my head in. So it's probably my own fault, because I didn't realise that I was going into endgame. But it did kind of make the combat weaknesses a bit more stark at that point. But yeah, I mean, I do like it. I think at times it's not very nice looking, but then it is, if you know what I mean. You just kind of stop for a second. You go, actually, artistically, it looks quite nice. I think graphically, it's a bit brown.
They put pretty much like all the resources into the character models, I think, and the rest was just, it wasn't bad looking. It just didn't have the same detail lavished upon it.
It's definitely very stylish at times.
That's the thing. I say some of them boss battles are.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I can get behind the idea they don't look good, if you know what I mean. They're not 4K, ultra resolution textures, but they look damn good, some of them.
Yeah, it is a stylish game at times. Yeah, I like it. I think it didn't help that I had such a big gap between starting it and finishing it. So I'm sort of committed to kind of getting through 9S.
Does it still say at the end of the first playthrough in the credits, please play again, Square Enix PR? It still says PR.
Oh no, it doesn't say. I don't. Do you know? I don't know. It does say thank you for playing. This game does change.
Yeah, play it again.
So we recommend you play again. But I don't recall it saying PR. But
because it did pre-release, and I always wondered if that was something, because that seems like a waste of money to patch. Do you know what I mean?
I can't say it stuck out.
No. Okay. Well, from a game that is a little bit old and that Nicola's enjoying, but she doesn't think it looks that great. Gary, I have no idea what this game is. So does it look great? Is it old? Was it new? What's Forever Races?
It came out last week on PC, and it's an indie game. It cost me about £4.
Right.
That was on like launch discount thing. I think it's normally about £5, and it's just like a kind of. It's a completely free roaming racer, like low poly graphics, really bouncy physics.
Did they spend all the money on the character models, Gary? Is that what you're saying?
It's just like, I can honestly say, like, I think I said it on Twitter the other day. It's like, this could be like my happy place kind of game, because it's just super chilled. Like, and you can sit and you can play like online if you want, or you can do what I did and just go in like offline practice mode and just drive around. And it's just daft because you can drive pretty much anywhere, and you can drive in a van if you want, just for the fuck of it, basically. And it's the sort of thing, if you're going over bumps, you turn a bit too sharply, you're flipping all over the place. It's that really daft, bouncy physics, but it's just fun. I didn't want to spend much time on it, just wanted to just sort of give it a bit of a shout out, because
that's fine.
It's a lot of fun that I'm having with it, and I think I'll keep going back to it. There's quite a lot of content to it. Like, the map's quite large. You can drive wherever you want, and it's just got various tracks kind of dotted within the map, and you can just instantly switch between cars and tracks whenever you want, and it'll just instantly swap you out.
Okay.
So are you saying that this game is better than Bloodborne?
So that's a bit hard to say.
No, it's not. You could just say no. It's really easy. You just go, no, it's not. It's not better than Bloodborne, because Bloodborne's one of the best games.
4 attempts to get into Bloodborne.
Okay.
I played Forever Races and instantly fell in love. So for me, it's probably better. But then I am.
Well, it's got four wheels and a steering wheel, isn't it? So It's Gary's Happy Place, and speaking of happy places, we are sort of branching into the news properly now, but I know we've talked a lot about Sea of Thieves, I know that, but it does seem a little bit unfair that we don't give Nicola the floor, so we're going to do that, and we're also going to talk about the patch, which, is it out now? Yes, it's out now, 1.0.2, they may have even patched it again, I don't know, but one of the biggest things is there's an increased respawn distance for sunken ships. Nicola, could you tell us what this is? I know it's related. I know what it is, but could you explain to us, as the resident Sea of Thieves expert, why an increased respawn distance for sunken ships matters?
Because I think what was happening is that, let's say a galleon was sank a sloop, a two-man sloop. The sloop would respawn within visible distance of the galleon, and it was causing loops of being constantly attacked by griefers. So in response to player feedback, they've actually put the respawn distance much, much further away. Like, I think it's about half a map away from where you were originally sunk. I'd like to say a few things about Sea of Thieves, because I know that there's been
the floor is yours.
Yes, but there's been some, not negativity, but there's been some lacklustre thoughts about the game. I absolutely love it. I cannot stop playing it. I think the criticisms of it are valid, namely around the content, but I am having such a great time with it. I've had nothing but positive experiences with it. I know that on the last week's pod you were recounting a tale of Chris's first attempts at it, and it just sounded like a nightmare. We felt bad for him, Nicola.
We felt so bad for him, because we'd had that first stream where we had all enjoyed it, and it's like, come on, Chris, let's go to be pirates, and he had that, didn't he, Gary? And we were genuinely gutted for him.
Yeah,
it was really sad.
Yeah, see, I haven't had anything like that at all. I've never been griefed by players. I've done a lot of sailing on my own, and Gary's talking about Forever Racers being a happy place. How I feel,
that's exactly,
you guys know that I absolutely adore Minecraft. I feel the same way as I do playing Sea of Thieves as I do when I play Minecraft. So I feel really chilled out. Even as solo play, I just find the game really relaxing. Just that act of sailing, just heading out wherever and sitting on my boat and watching it, I just find it really relaxing. And
but that's the thing. You've nailed something there, and I don't mean to interrupt you, and I said the floor is yours, but if I don't ask you, I'll forget. So I was listening to a podcast, I think it was the Giant Bombcast, and they said something on there, and it really made me think about this game. They were talking about it, and there's been discussions. We've had them on this podcast, we've had them on Twitter, we've had them in Slack. Everyone's had these discussions lots, right, about what they need to add to this game, how they need to create content for you to experience. The comment, and I forget which one of the guys mentioned it, but the comment was essentially, that's all true, but that is not the game that they are making. So the question I have for you, well, it's sort of two-pronged. One, do you think they will add all this stuff eventually, not over the year? Or two, do you think the problem isn't actually in the game as much as that I want more from the game that isn't it's like someone playing Minecraft and going, there's no story. It's like, but that is not the game they've made. Yeah. Or do you think the truth lies somewhere in the middle?
I do think the game needs some more guided content, be that new factions, different stuff to do. I mean, we've talked about things like a fishing game or, another event or an NPC boat, because you're playing as a pirate, having maybe some, a British Navy ship or a Spanish Armada ship patrolling the sea, and they're going to chase you down because you're a pirate, and you've got to kind of avoid that kind of just some extra content in the world. But ultimately, I think that you kind of need to change. There does need to be a bit of a mindset change about what the game actually is, because what it is it's a sandbox world that has heavy mechanical, a heavy mechanical structure to it. The way you play it is very tactile, if you like. You know, you have to lift the sail, lift the anchor. You have to turn the sails into the wind. You've got to steer the boat. You need to plot your course to the island, and that isn't a case of you're looking at a mini map. You actually have to leave the wheel to look at a map and look at your compass to make sure you're going in the right direction. The actual simple act of getting from one island to the other takes time. It takes time to sail there because, you know, the wind might be flowing in the wrong direction and you have to maybe turn into the wind to get a bit of speed up before you turn back on, you know, into the direction you're going. Or there might be a storm that hits you that means that your compass is, you know, swirling all over the place and you're trying to, you know, find out where you are because you're now disorientated. That is the game itself, really.
So it is more Minecraft than...
Yes, I genuinely feel that it is that. It's basically something that you go into and you just do what you want to do. And there are some factions there that obviously give you some guidance of stuff to do in the same way that Minecraft did, in terms of, you know, oh, there's the Nether that you can go into and you'll get some higher tier stuff or whatever. I think that it's about setting your own goals about what you want to do with it. And having said, I mean, in terms of progression, I'm not necessarily of the opinion that it needs a progression system per se. I think that perhaps... I'll tell you what, there's one thing, right? So when you first spawn in the tavern, there is a mysterious stranger that you can go and talk to, and that mysterious stranger remains a mystery until you start to level up your factions, and it'll say to you, oh, you need to get all your factions up to level 5. So you do that, and you go and speak to the mysterious stranger again, and he or she will say, oh, you've done a great job, but now you need to get to level 10. And, you know, and I'm like at now level 21 in one of them, 18 in another, and 17 in the other one, and it's like I need to get to 20 with all 3 of those factions. And I'm like, I get it, I get that what you're trying to do is make me move these factions up, but I'm not... For each incremental increase by 5, it would be good if I got a reward from you for that. You know, like maybe you open up that door that you're stood in front of, and I can go in and, for getting, you know, to level 15 across all 3 factions, I get, I don't know, a new compass or a bucket. Do you know, anything just to indicate that that's what I've done? Because as it stands at the moment, I can see that mysterious stranger only does something when you get to level 50 across all of your factions and you become a pirate legend. And I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think that there should have been some incremental rewards along the way that would encourage you to maybe do that, because the Merchant Alliance faction is the most tedious of the 3 faction missions. Because that's the one where, well, probably for you, Adam, it's your favourite because you can go and get a chicken. But, you know, it's really awkward, the Merchant Alliance, because you have to collect the animal crates from the rep at the outpost. So you can't go and do a Merchant Alliance mission and keep your chickens on the boat and then go and do another one, because you have to go back to the outpost to get the new crates for the other one. So it is a bit of a go to that island, come back to the outpost, go to that island, come back to the outpost. So it's one of the factions that I think most people kind of leave. But it is the faction that I do when I play on my own, because pottering around collecting chickens and snake charming snakes and stuff like that is an okay thing for me to do. Plus, if I do get set upon by a ship of bastard pirates, if they sink me, I'm like, well, I've lost a couple of chickens, not 3 chests, because then I'll be upset, that I've lost these chests. So I really, really like it. I really like the game, and I'm hopeful that they are going to put together a decent roadmap, because, as you've said, there is a superb foundation. They've built a wonderful foundation that I hope that over time this game will evolve. And I'd like to think that maybe in 8 months maybe even 12 months' time, it's going to look completely different again. And I think, I don't know, I think it's something special. I do think it's something special. Even in its current form, I get a very specific feeling when I play it that I rarely get anywhere else. And I have to say, I've talked about Rainbow Six Siege, which I'm obsessed with, and that is, of course, a pure multiplayer game. The multiplayer aspect of Sea of Thieves, I don't think I have had as much fun in a multiplayer experience as I have had with Sea of Thieves. I have been my stomach has been killing from laughing at this game. I just think it's an absolutely hilarious game. Playing with your pals, even on my own, I've had fun when I've been set upon by another crew of pirates. Like I got set upon sailing solo on a sloop, and a 2-man sloop decided that they were going to come and, sink me and steal my treasure. And every time I always get the upper hand. I always seem to get the upper hand, and I sail away laughing to myself like I managed to sink them, killed one of their pirates and sank them, and sailed away cackling to myself thinking, ha, that'll learn you, wrong part of town, boys, And I just have a really good time with it. But it took me having to have a little bit of a mindset shift and say, do you know what? Right. I have to get over my fear of loss. If I'm worried every time I'm out on the seas that somebody's going to come and attack me, or they're going to come and steal my chest and my skulls or whatever, then I'm not going to have a good time when that happens. I have to just accept that is what's going to happen, because ultimately it's a game about being a pirate, and pirates are bastards and they come and steal your stuff. So if you're prepared that that's going to happen, then you can go and do it yourself. And I have done it myself. I've gone and sunk another person's sloop, sunk them, realised they had treasure, because once the ship sinks, all the treasure then floats to the top. And me and my pal have been like, shit, they've actually had treasure. We go and nick it, and we're like diving out into the water. It's like, quick, stick the fucking anchor down. We need to go and get this treasure. And we're like swimming to get the treasure. And there's another guy who'd seen us scrapping, and we can hear him over the mic going, I'm coming for you guys, like this American voice. And we're like, fuck, leave the treasure, we gotta go. So I've had like a really great time with it. I think it's a really, really good game. So yes. Did you hear, just before we move to the other news, did you hear, the first person to get level 50 and unlock all that, did you hear how he did it? Yeah, I think that he was... Quite clever, but people weren't very happy about it, were they? No, wasn't he doing things like where crews were out and they would be like, right, okay, we're about to hand in all the treasure. Yep, that's and it. And then they'd invite him in. I think he was a streamer. They'd invite him in onto their ship so that he could get all the treasure, and then he'd leave and go and do it with somebody else. That's exactly it, yeah. What's the point? Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose he got the first, but yeah, no, I mean, quite clever, actually, if I'm honest with you. Speaking of things that are clever or aren't clever, we'll find out what people think. So, if you recall, Hitman was a bit of a success. Everyone loved it. People really love it. They loved all IO Interactive did under Square Enix's banner, whereby Square basically said, we don't really want to do it anymore, and let IO go, and IO retained the rights to Hitman, went independent, released a Game of the Year edition, and are now releasing another version because Warner Brothers are going to publish Hitman Definitive Edition next month. Oh. This seems like a really strange thing because, like everyone, there's a bit of good feeling towards IO and Hitman because it was so well loved. But the Game of the Year edition was out less than 6 months ago. This Definitive Edition will feature loads of content. It's got obviously the whole game, Blood Money Requiem pack, summer bonus episode, Game of the Year edition content, Season 1, obviously the main game, 20th anniversary outfit bundles. What do we think of this? Is this a bit weird that they got their independence and gone back to a publisher?
I think they just want a bigger budget for Season 2. I think,
You think?
I'd say that's what they're going for. I think they realised... I don't think they realised how how big season 1 was, because as you said, everyone did love it. It is absolutely incredible. And I think now with them being independent, maybe they're just kind of like, they know that they have to pump in a lot into this season again, and probably massive amounts of advertising and whatnot. So I'd say Warner were willing to do a deal, I'd say, and I think that's what's going on there. Because they're bound to announce season 2 soon. Surely with this,
I would imagine it's an E3 thing. I would have thought.
Yeah, surely with this, it's the thing.
Maybe. It just makes you wonder what season 2 will be, because if they want a bigger budget, then perhaps they're going to go bigger, larger scale.
Would you?
Is it not
Dunno.
maybe Warner kind of putting their stamp on it? Just going like, look, I know you released the Game of the Year one, but we're now publishing it. We'll do
how many
our
copies
edition,
is this
basically.
going to sell, you know? It's just I don't know. I find it weird that maybe that is what Adam is right. Maybe it is that they want a bigger budget, and they realise, well, maybe they never wanted to leave Square, but they realised Square didn't want them, so they went independent and hoped they could get picked up to get some money and make a huge season 2.
I wonder, will they do the whole episodic thing again?
Yeah, don't know.
Because I can't really see Warner going with that. I think they'll just want a massive Game of the Year contender. It's all out there. There you go, and maybe some added on DLC down the line. But I thought the episodic thing in season 1 was brilliant. I thought it flowed really well, and there was enough content to keep you going. Like,
yep, superb. Yeah, well, I guess time will tell. We'll see, but I would imagine an E3 announced for season 2, probably later this year. Release. Speaking of speaking of releases later this year, Nintendo Switch has got plenty of games now. No one could deny that. But in spring this year, Firewatch is coming to Switch.
Wow.
Great game.
But
didn't
that
run
like
brilliantly.
shit on PS4?
Yes, it was fine, I think, on Pro. Or no, I think they added support for that later. But yeah, so that'll be an interesting one to see how it, I don't know. Release dates, while we're on the subject. Now. Spider-Man, people. Spider-Man. September the 7th for Spider-Man. How is everyone feeling about the Spider-Man?
I'll be buying it.
I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, right? Don't particularly care. However, I do like Insomniac games, and this looks fucking good. Has anyone seen the video doing the rounds?
No.
There's bits and pieces doing the rounds. Oh, it looks very,
as in, like,
very
actual
good
gameplay?
indeed. Yeah, gameplay. There's some combat and stuff. It looks quite, I guess, Batman Arkham style combat by way of, which I think it was always going to be, but by way of Spider-Man, obviously web slinging. Have you seen it, Gary?
I haven't. I've only seen the
really?
stuff they showed last year. I mean, it kind of showed a little bit of the combat, but I mean, I was kind of sold there anyway. Just give me a proper Spider-Man game.
For some reason, I think this is going to be an absolutely amazing game. I think it's going to be.
So do I.
I think it's probably going to be the best Spider-Man game. I just have I have this inkling though that it's going to be very short, and I don't know why.
Really? No, I don't think that's. I don't know about that.
Man. There'll be a couple of side quests here and there, but I don't know. Like,
I just wonder if they'll throw in all the villains like they usually do with the Spider-Man games.
I mean, Nicola's very quiet there, and I've got a feeling I know why, but... yeah.
It does look good, but I'm not really a big Spider-Man fan.
No, I'm not at all. I mean, I saw Spider-Man Homecoming is out on Sky Movies or whatever, and I looked at that and thought, oh, maybe the Spider-Man movies are good again. I might, but I didn't. So
you need to watch it.
It's good.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't because I assumed it wouldn't be good, but
No, it's excellent.
I think you guys have talked about it before. Okay, no, I'm with Nicola. Absolutely, like Spider-Man.
See,
but
I
do love Insomniac.
I don't think you'll have to be to be really into Spider-Man to get this, because I think if you remember Spider-Man 2, when you first played that, just flying around the place was so much fun, and I think that is what they're going to bring in here. I think when you're going to be web slinging through the city, it's just going to feel amazing. I'm so excited. I'm delighted it's out so soon.
Yeah, we did talk about this, and we sort of wondered if it would be this year, and it is. The question I have to ask is, because I'm looking at a list of Insomniac's games, and obviously they did Song of the Deep, which I played and was quite good, but not amazing. Edge of Nowhere, which was a Rift game, and then they did like 2 other Oculus Rift games, and they're back to this one now, Spider-Man for PS4, and it's a PS4 exclusive. Oh my god, I don't want to make everyone feel old, but Sunset Overdrive was released in 2014.
What?
Still haven't played it.
Gary.
I haven't either.
Nicola.
I got it when it was free, wasn't it, on Games with Gold a while back? So I have got it.
I like that game a lot. I like Insomniac games, though. I like their games a lot, and I really would love. Do you know, it's just going, off piste a little bit, but like Microsoft, we talked about how they're probably going to announce a new Gears and a Halo and a Forza in amongst whatever else they do. Listen, I will still play all 3 of those, and happily so, but I would absolutely love it if they announced a Sunset Overdrive 2, because that game was different. It was, to be honest, in many ways it was slightly Crackdown-like without some of the Crackdown tropes, and I was surprised when I saw the reviews, other people's reviews of Sunset Overdrive go up, because I really enjoyed that game, and I know it was like style and attitude, but the actual game part I really liked, and I have a lot of faith in Insomniac as a studio, because again, I thought that like Song of the Deep had a lot of potential, didn't quite hit it, but when they get the money from the to you make this game good, I think they do very well. And speaking of doing very well, Fortnite Mobile, quelle surprise, is very popular on that mobile version. It's very popular. They've now opened it up so that everyone can play it, and within less than a month, it's made over $15 million.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
This
that's amazing.
Doesn't seem to be slowing down, so I thought we'd just throw that in there as a quick hit before moving on to, I guess, the biggest news of last week. I suppose as people are hearing this, it's official. Spyro Reignited Trilogy is coming to PS4 and Xbox One in September the 21st. Is everyone happy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought everyone was going to say I don't care.
I'm not that fussed. I could take it or leave it.
Okay,
I've never really played Spyro. It's kind of released at a time when I wasn't really into platform games.
Okay. Well, it's Spyro the Dragon, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon. I do not remember any of these games individually.
Thank you.
I know I've played them.
Much.
I know I've played them. But I don't. I probably remember the first, because this is going to be the Crash Bandicoot treatment, isn't it? It's going to be like a remake of those games in Toys for Bob's Skylanders engine. So it's the same exact games, but with like a beautiful modern touch. You're excited, Nicola?
I am, and I'm the same as you. I can't remember the games individually, and if I remember rightly, I don't think I finished any of them. But I do remember them fondly.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got to the point now where we've had so many remakes and remasters that getting excited about any of them, I just don't think I can muster the energy to do. I think this will be good. But then, like with Crash, I played a fair bit of it and then just stopped. And I suspect the same will happen. But it's the worst kept secret in gaming. There's a lot of them, but it's happening. September 21st. Those first 3 games, probably in 4K on PS4 and Xbox One X. There you go. People have got it. Activision now are gonna. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Tony Hawk's remakes and the rest of them, because it works and they sell. Remember, Crash sold incredibly, didn't it? So.
I would take Tony Hawk too. I'm just going to say that. I would take it.
Depends who's making it, because we had Tony Hawk's 5 and
oh jeez.
Remember that game? That was a PS4. In fact, we had a Spider-Man game by Activision as well not that long ago on PS4, and that was not good. Listener correspondence this week. This is a question that hopefully isn't going to make people too sad, but Chris Hyde at Chris Hyde 83 asks, what is everybody's favourite gaming memory as a kid? The more obscure the better. Anyone got one that they could start with?
Yes.
Go on.
Going, I can't remember the magazine, but you used to be able to buy magazines that had code in them that you could type out and create your own little games. And I remember sitting with my dad on a NASCOM computer that he'd made himself, bought the bits off the internet, and spending a weekend keying in code from a magazine to make a little text adventure game with my dad. And I would be maybe 10, 11-ish. No, I'd be older than that. 12, 13.
Okay.
That's one of my fondest memories.
I'm gonna just follow you then and say very similarly. My fondest, probably still to this day, my fondest memory would be my mum and dad taking me into town. I can't remember which town it is, and picking up my Spectrum and coming home and playing a game called Pod, P-O-D. I think it was P full stop O full stop D full stop, with my dad with the joystick, and it was this shooting game that was on a big neon grid, and you could only move along the lines of the grid, and it was a kind of Space Invaders on a grid. And I would also say, in a similar vein, my dad, he wasn't really into games, but he did like PGA Tour golf, and he couldn't really work out game controllers. Like, they were, to people who don't play games, game controllers are like, you hand my mum one, she holds it out like with one hand on one stick, like, what is this thing? There's 100 buttons. But we also had like it wasn't a fight stick, it was a joystick for games back then, and that was simple for him because he could use the stick to aim. And then it was back when PGA was like press to start swinging, press for power, press for the precision. And he and I we would never really bond over games, but we would spend ages playing that on the Mega Drive together. And like, obviously my dad's not with us and hasn't been for a long time now, and I really think back to those days, like when I was a kid, and just absolutely loved playing golf with my dad. As sad as it sounds, there's no bombast or bluster. It's just, I absolutely loved it, and I would love the chance to do that again. And it's just one of those things you can't do, can never recapture.
Mine's a similar one. Mine was like with my mum, who's no longer with us, and getting her to play sensible soccer. And God, it was hilarious. Because she was the same. Like, controllers were alien to her. I mean, I remember trying to teach her how to use a mouse on a PC once, and that took quite a while. But yeah, playing sensible soccer, and it's just like players slide in every direction possible. It was just, I don't think I've ever laughed that way since. It was just so funny.
I think there's so many of these kind of things. I really remember when a childhood friend of mine got Ocarina of Time on the 64 on release day, and just going up to his house and just setting it up and playing, and I was just like, oh my God. It just like completely blew my mind. That and when I owned a Sega Master System 2, obviously, we didn't have internet in the house at the time, but discovering that Alex Kidd was built into the system by pure mistake.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big... Like, I didn't know what was happening. Like, I just switched it on. I don't know why, but just did it. And next minute this game started, and I was like, what's happening? And it was kind of a bit of an overwhelming thing, because it was like, I wasn't able to afford games. I didn't have a job, obviously. I was a kid. So when this other game was secretly stuffed in there, I was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. And I remember just... It's
mad, right? Like, because we didn't, you didn't have money when you were a kid. Like, my parents weren't really up on tech, and neither of them care about games. My mum's still alive, and she doesn't care about games. But like, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't really have got into them. Like, I remember them getting me a NES with Duck Hunt, and we were playing with that light gun. And again, I don't think I'd even asked for it. Like, they didn't have any money. None of our family have ever had money, and that's something that's continued forever. But there's so many memories like that.
That's actually a funny thing you brought up there. Is the Duck Hunt gun? It's like the absolute insane click when you pull the trigger of the gun. It was so intense.
I mean, I could throw a few more in there. Playing the Die Hard trilogy at Christmas. Yeah, what an amazing game that was. Still, getting a PS1 for the very first time and being the first kid in town to play Resident Evil 1. because I thought it was imported, and it turned out that they'd got me a pirate copy, and it didn't work. It was in black and white because I had the cables that came with it, and we had to go and get a SCART cable to get it to play in colour. Then there's, or how about playing Tekken, the very first Tekken, and seeing Gallagher on the load screen?
Yeah, that was my first PlayStation game. When I got to PlayStation on Christmas morning, Tekken came with it. And
like I say, my parents are very much responsible for my love of gaming. Whether
I bought my own PlayStation 1. How much older than you am I?
Well, I don't see. I will say that I am 36, and perhaps that's all. You should don't. Yeah, you've given it away.
Yeah,
I think Nicola, you're my wife's age. If that's any help.
Oh, that makes me feel slightly better.
Robert Sison at Sisonator says, what weapon in Far Cry 5 is getting you the moistest? Moist's a word you don't say very often, isn't it? But there you go, I've said it. Moist. Gary, Adam, have you got a weapon?
We like going
yes,
there, don't we,
Adam? Yes. Jesus Christ.
I don't think I've played it enough, really, to I kind of just stick with the generic assault rifle. But I suppose, Molotov. We've been there. Might as well
I would go with remote explosive because I just throw them at cars and blow them up. And I love doing that because, as I think I said on the pod the other week, Chris never learned when we were playing co-op. He'd run to the car to go and shoot them, and I already have thrown the remote explosive, and he'd get taken out with it, and every time it would be funny.
I think for me it's like the sniper rifles and stuff. I think I have the most fun with them because you're just away in a distance, and when you just target a guy in a camp and headshot him, and you just see the panic happen and everyone running everywhere, that's a lot of fun, I think. But I don't know any of the weapons individually, unfortunately.
Okay. I haven't played it, but from what you've said, I think it has to be Cheeseburger the Bear.
I nearly went with that, but yeah. Yep. Okay. Moving on before I say something inappropriate. It seems like a good moment actually to remind people that if you're listening to this and you're not a Patreon, you will have just missed some fun talk about movies, dogs, and The Office. Well, Ricky Gervais. And if you aren't a Patreon, you will also be getting this on Wednesday, the 11th of April, which means tomorrow, on the 12th, you can come and read our God of War review. I am pimping that because, as I say, it's a big game in terms of April, really, because there's that, Labo, and the third game I keep forgetting, Yakuza, I think is the other one. And next week we'll talk about it on the podcast when the embargo's up and stuff. We couldn't do it, obviously, because it's not up at the time of recording. And all that really remains to say is if you do like this podcast and if you do enjoy what we do, then that Patreon for $1 a month will get you every single weekly episode early and extended, and other stuff too. You get exclusive videos, early access to videos that are going to go up later in the week or sometimes way in advance. And generally, you get to see the inside of the way the site works. We like to include people as best we can. If you want to follow people on Twitter, you can do so with Nicola is at wavy_gravy. Gary is at BlueFury47. Adam is at AdamsOaks. I am at JebusF, and obviously at God is a Geek. And we're God is a Geek on every social media, so you can find us there. Do rate, review us, and subscribe via iTunes or whatever podcatching app you have. Thank you very much to Adam, Nicola, and Gary this week. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And we will speak to you next week, or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.